How considerate of you. Okay. Though you took a minute to explain more about your sexuality boundaries before anything might be assumed. You took it all well perfectly. You took it all perfectly well. And Baxter's coy smile opened into a grin, like cracking a stone to see beautiful geode inside.
Perfect.
Then feel free to join me after you've changed. I'll be waiting. Briefly, the two of you parted ways. You got ready to sleep as quickly as you could with your tired bones, resisting the effort of even changing clothes. After you won the battle against Zippers and Buns, you gathered a few necessities to migrate to your new room. You left the door mostly open, so you went through it without knocking. Being there definitely felt different than your first venture inside, even if it looked the same. Specifically, you couldn't help noticing the massive post haphazardly piled on the side table. There you are. Welcome. Hey, isn't that from... Hey, isn't that from when you threw your entire closet out looking for your wedding clothes? That was the last time you gone to Baxter's room, you realized. Yes. There's no hesitation. You snored how straightforward it was. Most of the time, with certain things. I'll get to reorganizing it another day after you leave. Or perhaps I'll be inspired to do it before then. If I have time. I'm uncommitted. Of course, usually, I wouldn't go in my rooms or just stay to Sally in a relationship. Or ever, really, but you see. Of course, usually, I wouldn't show my room in such a state to Sally in a relationship. Or ever, really. But you've already seen far worse from me. Including being there to witness me making this very mess. Baxter busied himself by counting down the blankets for both of you. It's 5 years too late for me to fool you into thinking I'm full asleep with the other, and I wanted you to stay with me tonight. He chuckled at himself while getting on top of the mattress. You know, I'll have to give you credit for having some pops of color. Really, you're too kind. He followed Baxter into bed. Found that you were welcome there. Baxter had luscious feather pillows. That squished in around your head when you laid down. It's like getting a hug, but for your cheeks. Your boyfriend's face was partially obscured by a fluffy pillow too. He had a punch from the center of the buff fold to the edge so he could see better. You turned on your side to face him, and back to his side. Breath was near enough to fly your eyelashes. As tempting as it is just to stay up for the remaining half of the night, I know we shouldn't. Rest is important. And very needed today in particular.
Good night.
Good night, Callie. Night. He had a convenient switch he could head from bed to shut off all the lights in the room. And I want something like that. It's so convenient. But that was still one piece missing before Baxter officially settled in. He felt his arms wrapping around you. He was careful to have the touch be affectionate, soothing, rather than something that made the whole get sleep thing more difficult. Then Baxter whispered one last thought. I'm glad you're here. I never want to be anywhere else. Then he gave him a good night kiss and words. Just something small that wouldn't long him for oh my god, I wish to speak English for once. Just something small. It wasn't long enough for him to properly lean into it, but he was too darling not to back. How lovely. Baxter murmured against your ear in dreamy voice. As incredible as outright unbelievable. as it was to be in Baxter's embrace for the night. The thrill you had compared to the pure comfort it brought you. You had gone through so much to be where you are. For years, you thought you'd For years, you thought anything like it could never happen. You might not have you might not have given up trying, but you had no real hope it would come to anything. Now that it was okay for you and him, you could relax in a wholly complete silence. Baxter felt that same relief. Neither of you needed further words of reassurance. The warmth between you was enough. Your half-conscious mind swam through the my god. Your half-conscious mind swam through a moving tide of memories of the current day and the entire wedding planning excursion. The mental water was warm, relaxing. You smiled and cast one more glance at the man you were in bed with, before your eyes could no longer stay open. Putting on a fantastic event for Jude and Scott. Seeing friends and family. Starting a new relationship. That boyfriend being Baxter Ward. Even though you attended Prison Vista and everywhere beyond, in between would come to an end soon. It could not possibly have gone better. Without even realizing it, you drifted into pleasant dreams. Then, when morning arrived, you saw him there. He hadn't vanished. He didn't leave you behind. Baxter remained fast asleep beside you, exactly as you knew he would be. The sheets surrounding you were full of the spice floral scent Baxter Ward's cologne. It was so classy, a perfect match to his normal demeanor. The public-facing part of him, here, something that shoved in there at all. Baxter was entirely graceless. When he slept, with his face crushed into a pillow, and his hair having lost its characteristic swoop. No one was as flawless as a paragon of poise. It was intentional and took effort. The morning Baxter was always a good reminder of that. You could write a list of frustrations with Baxter. Secretly being kind of a mess was not on it. You liked that about him. Right then, you were able to look at every little feature of his up close. His sharp manicured eyebrows, and equally pointed nose, the mole on his neck, of course, and at the tippy top of his head. If you squinted in the sunshine, you could see a gradient in the strands. It was lighter at the roots than the rest of his hair, in the smallest ways. Baxter had let you see his natural color. It was beautiful. He gently stroked his head. He smiled in his sleep. And when his deep brown eyes stood flutter open, he continued to do so. But before saying anything, he yawned and stretched, and rubbed a thin line of drool from his mouth. Baxter also made a valiant attempt to straighten out. Baxter made a valiant attempt to straighten out his bed hair. Only then did he determine it was appropriate to greet you.
Nice to see you.
Hello, Callie. How nice it is to see you again. A wonderful day. Morning sunshine. It certainly is a good day. Despite officially being awake now, Baxter cozied up into you again. His hands re-established the hold they had on you before he attempted to clean up. It was too adorable to do anything about. Besides, you weren't planning on getting up when you normally did either. You had many early days of rushing about, and tomorrow would be another. That's when you needed to leave. Today, that moment, you both could afford to linger in bed, so you snuggled up against your boyfriend in return. With content kisses and scared whispers, Baxter indulged in having you completely to himself. Even though it was decided to bring away Zine about from bed to the living room, not even Baxter wanted to spend an entire day lounging in his room. And it was past the hours he shunned. As you got to your still slightly achy feet, you caught another glimpse of the driftwood statue, sitting pretty on one shelf, unaware of what captured your attention. Baxter got on his zebra print slippers and traveled up ahead of you. Gambled into the living room apron, put on your PJs, but with phone in hand. It was in case anyone needed to reach out before you bothered to dress. This was your last full day in town, so the odds were high someone would call or text any minute. Still thinking of the souvenir, you watched as Baxter slowly curled on his preferred chair, the blue one, turned towards the windows. He took a spot on the couch. Baxter, thanks for keeping the driftwood statue. Oh, you noticed. His usually pale cheeks flushed in his color. It stood out more starkly than usual, considering his outfit was almost pure white. Yes. Baxter explained himself with a flippant gesture of his hands, controlling his body more smoothly than he could his emotions. I'm fond of it even now. I've never been able to part with it. But isn't that what souvenirs are for? Keeping for the long term. I'm entirely reasonable for holding on to that. After thoroughly leaving everything in Sunset far behind. He was entirely too aware of how ridiculous he sounded. Baxter had attempted using humor to overcome the hurdle of sentimentality. That means a lot to me. What a coincidence. I feel the same way. Casually, you glanced down at your phone. There was a little conscious thought to it. In the back of your mind, you might have been motivated to see the time, or check messages. Nothing of much importance. That was a new notification. And that stopped you in your tracks. Your eyes remained stuck to the device long enough for Baxter to ask if something was the matter. No. Nothing was wrong. Not wrong at all. What completely captured your attention was that Baxter had been added to your group chat with Harry, Miranda, and Cole. It felt unreal. Only a week ago, Baxter was someone from the distant past, someone you were never meant to see again. And now, there was his name in a friend chat. You had started dating him, but that addition was what fully let the situation sink in. Acceptance into your circle, a mundane yet crucial presence in your social space. Baxter was truly part of your life again. Callie. He prompted you for a response again, now concerned. Take your phone! Baxter did so. He got out the phone that matched the material of his pajamas and color scheme, and gave a curious look. Oh. That was all he could muster. Baxter drew the screen closer to his face. He started at the notification as hard as you imagined you'd done just a second ago. As hard as you imagined you'd done just seconds ago. You've been so distracted by the initial revelation that you weren't even sure what the messages said. The words hadn't penetrated your head. Trying again, you scanned your most recent text. It started with an extravagant declaration from Terry. Hey, Butts, we've got to get together today. Let's do it in the evening. Everyone should be free then. Yeah. You shook off the reverie, still slowing you down, and reacted to the conversation. Hey, Baxter, you think we could invite Xavier?
Oh, yes.
Interesting. But that is up to you and the others more than me. I'll agree with whatever you prefer. Alright, guess I'll ask. Would anyone mind if I asked someone else to come? Xavier, the Baxter's friends. They made the wedding cake. I like them. Do it. Ooh, I want to meet them. Cool. Just something I noticed with these tags is that if I go back a bit, it usually with tags, if it's the same person, the name doesn't come back. They're all grouped under that one name, unless someone responds midway, then it just starts. I don't get why it does it in this game, but hey, color. Maybe it'll change in the next one. Maybe it won't. We can only find out in the future. I've also just noticed our phone case is white, and our phone is pinkish purple. Purple, as GT Live calls it. And Miranda has my color. I love
In
that. In that case, I'll text them. You can count on that. You didn't have Xavier's number. You got the plan. I don't have that number. Baxter busy himself with the new task. While more messages popped in the group chat, Miranda had another suggestion. We should meet at Jordan Scott's place. It's bigger and they're not using it. Yeah, they already said Callie could be there. They can't stop us now. I don't know what that is. For the others, that might read as disinterest, or perhaps a complaint, but you could gauge the real worry that prompted his message. You're not gonna be the one driving. We'll pick you up. Okay. Great! In your peripheral vision, you noticed motion. Baxter's fingers were still tapping away. He should have finished his invite to Xavier by now. That meant he was going to join the chat. We'll see you this evening then. I'm looking forward to it. Very typical Mr. Ward, though the exclamation mark was a bit festive. But then he signed the Blaze text off with a, "More sincerely, your friend, Baxter Ward." Your phone lit up immediately as the device itself was chuckling. Very loud, repeatedly. Cobb could only think of commenting what. Miranda didn't even have a reply. Most likely she was laughing in real life. He typed out one last reply. He's so cute, right? Very adorable. He looked properly over the man himself. Chuckling, Baxter surveyed the results from the digital wall you dropped on the unexpected group chat. Then he placed his weapon down on the coffee table. His legs was crossed as he leaned comfortably in his boxy blue chair.
To be honest,
I'd like to admit something, Callie. I had your number all along. Of course. I never looked at it over the years we were apart. But I didn't have it in me to delete it either. What? The memory of that first day flashed. When Baxter offered you a business card, so you could contact him for professional purposes only, and had asked for yours in return. When he refused to answer your accusation that he should have had your number. How strange. The bitter, hard feelings of that moment was so easily... How strange. The bitter, hard feelings of that moment was so easy to remember, yet felt entirely separate from yourself. You had the hindsight to see how even then it was obvious, inevitable, that you and Baxter wouldn't stay on bad terms for long. He was a softie who longed for your approval, not a stranger who truly didn't want anything to do with you. And there was no real chance he had to leave the number you'd given him. Baxter continued his story after kindly giving you the space to digest what he said. Recently, I found myself scrolling through our text history. I finally saw those messages you sent after I was gone. I'm sorry, Callie. Thank you for saying that. I read over our texts after meeting you again, too.
I understand.
Incredible. We can't help ourselves. At least the feeling is mutual. It was nice to see those old conversations. Yeah. Both you and Baxter were taken in by feelings of sentimentality. speaking softly and enjoying the warmth of shared memories, until his features twisted dryly. The tale wasn't quite over. However, it would have been far more pleasant if only I hadn't been reminded of how I texted as a 19-year-old. Baxter placed a hand over his eyes woefully. I said, sincerely your friend, in a text. Wholly sincerely. All then I had the nerve to view myself as someone without social openness. I will never know. Don't worry. The statement was far more self-aware this time. I like your old formal way of texting. Thank you. Baxter's signature smirk wasn't missing from his face for long. Perhaps I stand to add a little flash my written statements, but it was considered of your friends rather than you to the group. That's why you belong. Baxter smiled at you brilliantly.
It's settled.
Then it settled. After evening plans were set, the two of you chatted in the kitchen and prepared a meal, and Baxter got to prove once and for all that even if he couldn't bake, he could cook. Over breakfast, or rather, brunch, considering how late it was, it was decided that you'd go out of the apartment for a while. Not to reach any particular place, just to enjoy the act of walking itself. You finished the food, cleaned it up, and went to the midday sunshine. You and Baxter wandered Prison Vista City with little purpose and zero plan. Baxter had set the direction to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city center. But that was all the thought of. Oh my god. But that was all the thought that went into your plan. But no denying that you were surprised when he agreed to spend time doing this. Easily at that. It wasn't exactly Baxter's style, and that didn't require at least a 20-minute drive. That wasn't predetermined to be exactly the right venue for the moment. Unheard of. But the shift in preference was only a good thing. Pushing himself to come up with a unique activity for every moment was an unfair standard to meet. Not to mention, impossible considering you intended to spend many days together over the course of your lives. Reflecting on your past experiences with full perspective, that was a pretty blatant sign of Baxter's greater problems. It wasn't merely that he was a tourist and wanted to make the most of his vacation, but that he was a planner and had to do his best for his clients. Baxter, flat out, didn't let himself have the kind of relationship with someone where all you needed was the other person. There had to be an angle, a point, an excuse to be together. None of that was necessary for any longer. Finding somewhere new or doing something unexpected was fun, not crucial. And sometimes it was nicer doing, and sometimes it was nicer to do nothing besides a walk and talk with someone you loved. On the way, to Noah in particular, Baxter took out his phone to check a newly received message. Normally he wouldn't be so impolite to read as to read text while entertaining a gentle person, but both of you were waiting for a response. Xavier had gone back about the RSVP invitation. Baxter read the exact statement aloud. They were glad to be invited. Whatever this thing was that you were doing. He chuckled at their choice of words.
Very well.
1 second, please. I'll send them the address, then we can continue to fully unburden.